मानुषी के इस प्रोग्राम में आपका स्वागत है। आज फिर हम बांग्लादेशी हिंदुओं के जनसंहार की कहानी और इतिहास उन्हीं की जुबानी जानने के लिए ये प्रोग्राम कर रहे हैं। कुछ दिन तक तो बांग्लादेश का जनसंहार जो कि दुर्गा पूजा के समय दिनों में शुरू हुआ, नवरात्रों में शुरू हुआ और कई दिन तक बराबर घर जलाए गए, लूटे गए, स्त्रियों का गैंगरेप हुआ, अबडक्शंस हुई और मंदिर बहुत सारे सैकड़ों बांग्लादेश में हिंदू मंदिर तोड़े गए और लोगों को बेघर, बेरोजगार और बिल्कुल बेरहमी से उखाड़ दिया गया, उन्हीं के अपने घरों से, उन्हीं के अपने गांव और मोहल्लों से। कुछ दिन तक तो ये खबरें चर्चित रहीं, पर एकाएक अब और चीज़ें भी आ गई और इश्यूज भी, जैसा मीडिया के साथ होता है, तो अटेंशन कहीं और चले जाती है। तो आज हमने सोचा थोड़ा फिर मुड़ के देखें और पता करें कि बांग्लादेश में क्या हालात सुधरे हैं, कि वही हालात चले जा रहे हैं और सिर्फ मीडिया चुप हो गया है। इसके लिए हमारे साथ हमारे दो मेहमान जुड़ रहे हैं और शायद लंदन से प्रोफेसर गौतम सेन भी जुड़े। वो भी बांग्लादेश के ही हैं, पर ही इज एन इंडियन सिटीजन बट ऑफ बांग्लादेशी ओरिजिन। तो सबसे पहले मैं आपका परिचय कराती हूँ एडवोकेट रविंद्र घोष से। ये बांग्लादेश में सुप्रीम कोर्ट में प्रैक्टिस करते रहे हैं और फाउंडर प्रेसिडेंट है बांग्लादेश माइनॉरिटी वॉच, और जिनीवा में भी इन्होंने बांग्लादेश हिंदुओं का पक्ष रखा है और कई सारे और भी मानवाधिकार संगठनों से जुड़े रहे हैं। उनके साथ हैं कानू कुमार मजुमदार जी, जो होप नाम की एक संस्था, जिसका एक्सपैंड करूं तो मतलब है हिंदू ऑर्गेनाइजेशन फॉर प्रोस्पेक्टिव इकोनॉमी। नमस्कार एंड वेलकम। और छठग्राम के हैं, जय श्री राम, जय श्री राम। मस्कट और ओमान में भी इनका बिजनेस है, पर है बांग्लादेश में, और शायद बांग्लादेश में भी आपका बिजनेस का बेस है छठग्राम में। तो आप दोनों से गौतम दा नमस्ते। गौतम दा, वेलकम टू द शो।
May I make one correction? I am by birth an Indian citizen and remain one despite being in England for more than 50 years. My family, both sides, father and mother, have strong roots in what was it? Well,
Thank you,
in
thank you, thank you. And you may also want to tell our viewers what what you're doing in London, what you've done there. You were teaching at London School of Economics, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, am I right?
Yes.
Yes, you were a professor at the London School of Economics. Now you've retired from that job, and but he remains very active. I get a lot of inputs and feedback from him on a daily basis, almost, on issues concerning India as well as Bangladesh. I'm so glad you could join us today, Gautam Da.
My pleasure.
So, जी, so let's start with श्रीमान मजुमदार जी। आप अभी कहाँ हैं, बांग्लादेश में कि ओमान में?
मैं एक्चुअली अभी भी ओमान में हूँ। अभी ओमान में हूँ, मस्कट में हूँ। इधर हमारा फैमिली के साथ होता है। तो लंबा टाइम से इधर ही हूँ ओमान में, 32 ईयर्स से इधर ओमान में।
ऊंचा बोलिए, आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही।
अभी 32 ईयर्स से अभी ओमान में हूँ, अभी भी है इधर ही है। अभी मैं ओमान से बोल रहा है।
अच्छा, तो आपकी फैमिली भी आपके साथ है, जो एक्सटेंडेड फैमिली है, सब सेफ हैं?
हमारा फैमिली भी इधर ही है। हमारा जो मेजला भाई है उसका फैमिली और मेरा फैमिली, हम लोग यहाँ बहुत साल से है। यानी
तो आपको कैसे खबर रहती है बांग्लादेश की, और बांग्लादेश के हिंदुओं की बात आप कैसे, क्या आपको लगता है कि बांग्लादेश से बाहर रह के हिंदुओं की बात करना ज्यादा आसान है बांग्लादेश में अंदर रहने के बजाय?
है वो तो सही है। अभी मैं जब चिटांग में होता है, बांग्लादेश में होता है, ये बात नहीं कर सकती हो। मेरा पीछे बहुत सारे ऐसा धामा किरी से तलवार लेके भगाएगा मेरे को, रहने को तो देगा भी नहीं। यहाँ तो मेरा एक पोजीशन है, जो भी है इधर से हम जो भी है बात कर सकते हैं, आगे का कुछ भी कर सकते हैं। जो जो हिंदू लोग है वो लोग को थोड़ा हिंदुत्ववादी में आगे लेके जा सकते हैं। ये मेरा चर्चा है, वो भी चल रहा है, अभी ऐसे ही चल रहा है।
तो आप किस किस्म की मदद पहुंचा पा रहे हैं बांग्लादेश में हिंदुओं
बस
के लिए?
वो जो भी होता है, यानी कर सकता है करती हूँ। वो तो मैं
हाँ,
लाइफ में नहीं बोल सकते, तो सही बात है।
ओके, ये भी सही बात है। ये बात
हम्म,
खुलेआम बोल भी नहीं सकते।
नहीं बोल सकते।
एडवोकेट रविंद्र घोष जी, आप तो
Yes.
अभी बांग्लादेश में ही है ना?
Yes.
So could you give me an idea of how things are going in Bangladesh for the Hindus? Has the violence stopped altogether, or is it continuing at low intensity?
It is not a new thing here in Bangladesh. This is not the new incident in Bangladesh during this Durga Puja 2021. But you know it better. I met you earlier. I told
Yes.
you that the atrocities started since 1971 after the liberation of Bangladesh. As a freedom fighter, I am a freedom fighter. I fought the country for the liberation of Bangladesh, for the independence of Bangladesh. But it is very unfortunate. Till then, the atrocities on Hindus, minorities are going on. But the government, the successive government has not taken it very seriously to stop atrocities against the Hindu minority in Bangladesh. I visited so many districts, so many villages in Bangladesh. I have got documentation. This is called documentation. Bangladesh Minority Watch. There are so many books. I have got 78 books regarding atrocities on minority Hindus in Bangladesh. I have visited the place of occurrence. I looked into this. I talked with the victims. I talked with them. I met with them, and they stated in a very pathetic language they are not in a position to stay at their homeland. And you know it very well. We achieved independence in the year 1971 with the help of Indian Army. But it is unfortunate that these successive governments did not stop the atrocities till today. Not only this time Durga Puja, every time in Durga Puja, many incidents of atrocities committed against the Hindus. But the government has become silent. They did not take any action. But the problem is that the people, those who are staying with the Hindus at the village, they are not also helping. And during our fact-finding investigation in different parts of Bangladesh, I went to Gazipur district only 2 years ago. I have been attacked by the Upazila Nirbahi officer. That is, he is also government officer. She's a woman. I have been attacked by the perpetrator as well as the police officer and also the administrative level officer. And I went there only to save some temple in Gazipur. It is in Gazipur, within, I have got the document. It is a Shiv Mandir. And I visited there. Upazila Nirbahi officer became angry with me and she started to beat me in such a language. And I have become part of. I reported to the superintendent of police, Gazipur. I reported it to the district administration for my safety. But it is unfortunate. I am not in a position to give any help to the victims at that time. And this temple has not yet been restored till today. It is the incident of 2019. So it is very unfortunate. This is not the single instance. This year, 2021, what happened? Even 34 districts, the incidents took place. Many temples and also deities, Hindu deities have been demolished, desecrated by the Islamic zealots. They have started it in the name of Allah, and they have started to demolish the structure of the Hindu deities, and they have fled away. But the cause of action is there. A Quran has been put under the leg of Durga Devi.
At the feet of the Devi.
Yes,
not under the leg, but at the feet of the Devi.
Seat of the Devi, and it was found by the police, and police circulated who has done it, but nobody could at that time realize. But ultimately, this man has been caught by the police, and he is a Muslim. Very unfortunate. But this defamation case should be started immediately against this person. He is a Muslim. So it is our recommendation that he should be hanged for this crime. As a result, in Kumilla district, several places, including Sitagang Hirtax, Chittagong, Feni, Kumilla, Rajshahi, Dinaspur, Rangpur, and also other districts, the perpetrators started to demolish the Hindu deities, Durga, Devi, and also other deities without any reason, without any cause of action. And as a result, you know it better that the percentage of Hindu population in Bangladesh. During liberation, we are more than 13% at that time, 1971. But nowadays, it has become 8 to 9%. What is the reason of declination of Hindu population in Bangladesh?
What was it in 1947?
47. At that time, there was 30%.
33%? Gautam will tell us the exact figure.
Yes, 30 or 32% at that time, Hindu population. But it is declining and declining day by day. The reason is that atrocities against them, but there is no punishment of the perpetrator. There is no legal action against the perpetrator. And the government has become silent about this. You know it very well. I have got some book. This is the writings. It is Nagorik Odhikar Sangrakhan o Sampradayikota Protirod Committee. This book was published in the year 1900. It was published 2020. So this is a compilation of the atrocities on the Hindu minorities of Bangladesh. 4,563 incidents took place during that period, that is BNP period. Bangladesh Nationalistic Party was in power at that time. What happened? At that time also, incidents going on. But these incidents have kept under the darkness till today. This is a report. It's a good report. And we have investigated.
Do you have a website?
Yes.
Advocate Ghosh, do you have a website where you publish all these details?
Yes, I have got it. Then I will let you know, because
what is the name? What is the website?
www.bdmw Bangladesh Minority Watch.org.
Okay, I have a question from you. May I ask you a question? You're always talking in terms of Bangladesh minorities. Are Christians treated the same way as Hindus and Bauds? Are
Yes.
Christians also victimized in the same way, or are they treated with more care because they have the international global Christian community behind them? They have the power of the Pope behind them, and they have very powerful Christian organizations, global organizations behind them. Are they treated any better?
No, no. The Buddhists are also target. The Hindus are also a target. The Buddhists, they
I
have
didn't
been
say about Buddhists, I said Christians.
Christian, but in Bangladesh, there are some Christians, but they are not affected. As
That's
Hindus
the
are
point
affected.
I want to know. What is the percentage of Christians in Bangladesh?
There are only 2 or 3% in Christian.
Okay. But they are allowed to run Christian schools, missionary schools
Yes,
freely.
they are allowed to run.
They are allowed to run colleges in Bangladesh.
That is true, and they are
And
functioning.
they are not affected. Their schools and colleges are never attacked. Their churches, are they attacked the way Hindu temples are attacked?
Only 20 years ago, there was an attack.
Not
20 years
anymore.
ago. Not anymore.
So
And
what
I
is the
have
difference? So why do you talk of minorities? Why don't you talk of Hindu minority?
that
You
is
talk of
true.
minorities as if all of them are equally threatened. But it seems from your own account that Christians do not have the same problem, even though they are only 2%. Why is
We,
it?
minority means the percentage of population. The percentage of population, Hindu, Buddhist,
Advocate
and
Ghosh,
Christian.
I know that. I asked you a
Yes,
very specific question. I said, Christians are a very small minority, namely 2-3%,
correct.
but they are not attacked. Their schools are not attacked. The churches are not attacked. They're not being murdered. We don't hear those reports coming from Bangladesh. Only Hindus and Bauds, especially those who are still in Chittagong, that whole area. Only
Correct.
they seem to be attacked. But
Correct.
you always talk of minorities. You don't say Hindu minority. You always say minorities. But Christians are not to be included because they are not being attacked.
Now, it is true that the Hindus are minorities. They are the minorities in Bangladesh.
You mean
But
they are the target? Don't say they are the minorities, please.
yes,
Let's
yes,
use, I urge you to use the correct words. I think what you need to very clearly state is that Hindus are targeted, while Christians, though a smaller minority than Hindus, are not targeted in the way that Hindus are. Gautamda, I'd like you to come in at this point.
Okay,
Uh,
I mean, can you
how-
hear me clearly? Can you hear me?
yes, yes.
First of all, রবীন্দ্র বাবু নমস্কার, বহুদিন বাদে আপনার সঙ্গে যোগাযোগ হলো, অনেক দশক বাদে মনে আছে আপনার সঙ্গে লন্ডনে আলাপ হয়েছিল, দেখছি
correct.
আমাদের দুজনেরই বয়স অনেক বেড়ে গেছে। হ্যাঁ, নমস্কার। Madhu, I think we need to be very realistic because the situation is extremely serious.
Please
First
bring
of all,
Gautamda on the screen. Ashish, bring Gautamda on the screen. Yeah.
am I on the screen
Make
now?
him bigger. Let him be heard and seen properly. Yes.
Okay, so let me begin by being extremely realistic because the situation is very grim and I think there is too much pussyfooting. The first point I'd like to make for everybody to understand is that tell me in which country a substantial minority has survived in a Muslim majority country. A substantial minority, zero. That includes Jews, Christians, and the entire Middle East. So no minority in any substantial numbers has survived in any Muslim majority country. So that is the writing on the wall. Secondly, we have this bizarre debate, and I've done a lot of research because one of the best libraries on Bangladesh is in East London, run by a Bangladeshi Hindu lawyer. who has a whole room of every press cutting you want to look at. And I have spent time in that library. There is no deep divide in Bangladesh over Hindus. Hindus are cordially hated by everybody. This BNP Awami League divide is actually completely a falsity, except that the Hindus are a bakra. They are a pawn in the contest between the two parties. And it suits the Awami League not to let this get out of hand, because they depend somewhat on Indian support to survive in their domestic politics, and also for the security of the leadership against terrorist attacks sponsored by Pakistan. But everybody, I know a lot of Bangladeshis, because there is no such thing as secular Bangladesh. This is a typical Indian fantasy. We love to use this nonsense term called secular. In Bangladesh, the people who support the Awami League, and I must say they have been doing a very good job in running the economy, much better than any other country in the world except Vietnam. They are a modern bourgeoisie which does not want to live under the jackboot of the Sharia. They are a modern bourgeoisie. It is not the same as being secular. They like their good life. They like their scotch. But they all hate Hindus. Except with the Awami League in power, there is a degree of restraint, because they don't want to fall out with India by engaging in huge pogroms. But you know, the population went from 34% in 1947 to about 13, 14 in 71. It is down to about 8. And the leading demographers of Bangladesh, Muslim demographers, are saying by 2050 it will be 0. The problem is solved in Bangladesh when the population of Hindus is down to 2 or 3%. After that, of course, you will get what you get in Pakistan, which is women are the key target in every single Muslim majority country of the minority community. Muslims are... Now, there is a specific background to all of this that we need to understand, and I'm sure Ravindra Babu fully comprehends this. The Enemy Property Act, which was changed to the Vested Property Act.
Can you possibly up your voice?
I'm bringing light to my mouth because I'm in the open air.
I know you're in the open air and you're using your phone camera, and
Yes.
I gave you just about 10 minutes notice to join. But we're going to have a separate show with you on the history of this whole genocidal...
A very critical factor in the violence against Hindus is greed. The Enemy Property Act, which has been revised as the Vested Property Act of 2013, allows you to seize property which has been abandoned, which means everybody has an interest in ensuring Hindus flee to India, because then the local dadas of BNP and Awami League, many of them are Awami Leaguers, seize the property. They will seize the property. This is supposed to devolve to the government, but it is seized by local people. So all you do when you want somebody's property...
Oh, your hand is covering your face.
Okay, I'll put it down here.
Yeah, sorry, I know it's not easy.
Yeah, okay, I'm a bit
to do
closer.
it.
And the way you make somebody flee is the same everywhere. You chase their women, their girls, you abduct, so they will run away. And then you have the property. Now, this Vested Property Act is the one we have been saying to the British government and to the Indian government, Bangladeshi government, be urged to repeal. Of course, they will never repeal this, because this is a political hot potato. There is a consensus that the Vested Property Act is the way you make Hindus run away. What has happened in the last few weeks actually is very, very minor. People forget in 1950, 1 million were murdered, and Shah Prasad Mukherjee and Sardar Patel wanted to invade Bangladesh, East Pakistan. They wanted to invade East Pakistan, and Nehru said, I'm not going to allow this. The refugees who've come to India are looking very prosperous. Some of them are wearing jewelry. This is what Nehru said. They are wearing jewelry, some of the women. And he said, if you do this, if you pass a resolution, I will go and work in a Muslim refugee camp in India. So Sardar Patel and Shah Prasad Mukherjee retreated. So this is nothing new. I'm afraid there is no hope for the Bangladeshis. We need to very quickly enact the CAA, which has been stopped basically by agents of Pakistan. Because not only do they oppress and persecute, they are saying you cannot give refuge because we don't do it. And this particular event which has taken place with this guy putting the Quran in the puja pandal was sponsored by the ISI. And the reason for that is very specific, and I've talked to people in Delhi about this. They are very upset that Modi government has invited the UAE to take an active part in Kashmir. So this is the riposte. They want to create chaos. So this attack was against Sheikh Hasina. mainly against Sheikh Hasina, and they wanted to provoke the Indian government and the Indian public. Modi and Shah and the government of India has acted very wisely and done nothing, because that is exactly what was expected of them, in the same way that the Khalistanis wanted Modi to shoot the farmers. That is why Modi has said nothing. Private conversations have undoubtedly taken place, but we have understood that this was to do with Kashmir, to create provocation against India and Hasina. And I must tell you, Hasina has no control. If she extends her hand to Hindus, there will be a backlash against her. That is why she does very little. But it doesn't really suit her to let it get out of hand, except there is a consensus in Bangladesh of all the Muslims that they want the Hindus out and they want their property. So all we can do is very little, but we must enact the CAA, because I hear tragic stories from Calcutta of people whose children can't go to school, they can't have hospital treatment, and this CAA being blocked is one of the greatest outrages of modern India, that we are not allowed to give refuge to our own people. So this is what must be done, and I'm sure, Madhu, you have been active on this, and I'm sure you're arguing for this, but I'm afraid this is a big shajis, a great big conspiracy hatched in Rawalpindi to create problems between Bangladesh, Hasina, and India, and we haven't fallen for it. Alas, innocent victims have gone down in the process, alas. But there's nothing
Gautam,
much we can do.
are you suggesting that we need to actually go for transfer of population, which is to say, propose to Bangladesh that you take back your illegal refugees and we take Hindus because they can't survive there? Is that what you're suggesting?
I can tell you why the government of India has never gone down this path. No government of India has adopted this policy. I can tell you why. The reason is, if they have an official policy, it will be immediately condemned by both Bangladesh and before that East Pakistan and Pakistan as interference in their internal affairs, and they will reciprocate with similar interference in Indian affairs. That is why we have never made this official policy. And indeed, we have discouraged people from coming. And if you say come to people from Bangladesh, the problem is you then delegitimize everybody in Bangladesh. All the millions are delegitimized immediately, because then they are told, yes, you have a country to go to. So it is a very difficult, tricky situation, which is a no-win situation for the Hindus and for India too. That is why the government of India has finally agreed to do the CAA. Even that they hesitated for exactly the same reason, that it would be regarded as interference in the affairs of Pakistan and Bangladesh, which is an excuse they'd love to have. They will interfere then in Hyderabad, in Calcutta, Tamil Nadu, which is why we have hesitated. And
Gautam, we're talking of CAA as though it was an open invitation. The fact is, CAA is a very mealy-mouthed piece of legislation because it provides refuge only to about 35,000 who are already in India as refugees from Pakistan or Bangladesh or Afghanistan. It's not a carte blanche in the way Israel gives to Jews globally.
Madhu, it is actually deliberately circumscribed for the reasons I've just given. They did not
But
want
what's
this
the
to
point of
function.
enacting it then?
For
Why
the,
enact it?
well, at
And
least
invite so much trouble?
these people who came before 2004 and had spent 5 years, a very small minority, this is symbolic. I agree. It's in the end, it's rather symbolic, which is why it's extraordinary that even Oxford professors, Indians who debated with me, were condemning it. They were condemning it. Nayanika Mathur and I appeared on the BBC radio program, and she's a professor of anthropology, and she thought this was an outrage, the CAA, for these 35,000 people. Yes, it is a very modest gesture, I agree, but I can see the dilemma for the Indian state. I can see the dilemma that whatever you do, you don't really win. You solve one set of problems and create another. So I don't know. I have no good ideas as to what to do. I would have thought the only thing, if the other countries put pressure, but in the UK, for example, in the last 10, 15 days, there's been no reporting of this. If a single Muslim falls off the train and a Hindu was standing behind him, it is headline news in the BBC and the Guardian and the Times, front page. No reporting on BBC of what's happening in Bangladesh. Nothing in the Times, Guardian, nothing. So we have no friends. We have no friends. We are on our own. And I'm afraid I have no good ideas as to what do we do.
Mr. Ghosh,
Yes.
what do you see the way out? Do you see future for Hindus in Bangladesh, or you think they'll all have to slowly disperse globally wherever they can in the way that Mazumder has done, in the way that many Bangladeshis have done? They're migrating to other countries, even to the Middle East countries, but not Bangladesh. So even Muslim majority Islamic countries seem better than Bangladesh. Non-democratic countries in the Middle East seem better for Bangladeshis than Bangladesh. Isn't that an oddity?
I am very much uh, aware about the situation nowadays going on. And personally, I am aggrieved because I am a human rights activist and also fact finder. I realized during 21 years fact finding investigation, I realized it is not possible on the part of the Hindu community to stay at their homeland because they are not getting justice since long after liberation. They, you know it better, Islam as a state religion has been incorporated in the constitution of the Bangladesh constitution in our country, and it has not yet been abrogated by any successive government. Bismillah Rahman Rahim has been incorporated in the constitution. So how a secular state will be established in Bangladesh? It is impossible. So we must try to have a common idea regarding our stay in Bangladesh. The government of India and also other states throughout the world should come forward to protect them in a good manner. Otherwise, it is impossible. There will be an ethnic cleansing in Bangladesh. There is no hope. We have got no hope in future.
But Ravindra, the fact is, the government of India has a big millstone, not one, but many millstones round its neck, namely minorities of India, which are more aggressive, more domineering than any majority in India can ever hope to be. So they hold the power, they hold veto power, they hold decisive power, they cripple any decision making, just as Gautam Da was explaining
That
a
is
while ago, that even Modi, who was expected to be the Hindu Hriday Samrat, is
that is
actually bending himself backward to appease the Muslim vote bank, who will never vote for him. So, do you think, Gautam Da, this constitution and this form of democracy has become the biggest liability for the Hindus of the subcontinent? That within this democracy and within the constitutional framework of India, we are doomed.
Just one general point about the government of India, Modi Sarkar, or anybody else. We are a lot weaker in the wider world than people are able to understand. We are actually a much weaker country. We are subject to a lot of pressures, and perhaps our stance is one of abundant caution. That is something we could argue. But, all said and done, more has happened in India which is positive in the last 7.5 years than in the last 200-300, despite all our disappointments and despite our wishes for so much more. And 7.5 years is a very short time in the history and the life of a country. So I reserve judgment. But I've seen your program, Madhu, on the way the government has bent over backwards to appease Muslims, whether it was Aga Khan's people from Canada. I had to laugh. And now, of course, in the Vatican. But I understand that there is a lot of politics and a lot of judgment, a lot of 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But I understand all that. And the one thing I learned during my association with the government in the 1919 era, looked at the world from inside with their information, things really do often look very different than it does even to intelligent outside observers. So I am not going to jump up and down, sad though as I am, because we as a family, my mother's family fled in 3 waves: 1947, 1964, people have forgotten about 1964 and the Hazrat Bal incident, and 1971. And I don't even want to repeat the horrors as they were leaving the country, what happened, and especially to the women. So this is a story told for many people. But this is our history, not just in Bangladesh, in Pakistan, Afghanistan, within India, in the border regions of Bangladesh, in Calcutta, after May, hundreds of women. So where do you turn? And I'm afraid BJP has made no noise about the attack on the temple in Canning Town. The temple was vandalized. So everybody's afraid. I forgive them for the moment because I'm waiting for the big picture. And we are very used to being beaten up. But I must say, I am especially and bitterly disappointed by my Bengali Hindu Bhadralok compatriots who are totally unconcerned. And indeed, many of them supported the crackdown by Yahya Khan in 1771. Many of them in Calcutta. I used to go there. Many of them supported the crackdown. They were in favor of the Pakistani army because that is what Beijing was telling them. So I have no respect for the Bengalis of Calcutta, zero. They have done nothing. There has been very, very little reaction. So that's where I leave it. I mean, I hope much stronger words are being exchanged. But I'll tell you one little thing. A senior diplomat told me more cooperation on intelligence has come from Hasina than from the chief ministers of many Indian states. These are very valuable, important issues. This is a front we do not want to open. That is why we are making all these bitter compromises.
Could you repeat this? Are
Sorry?
we endangering Hasina by your saying that more intelligence inputs have come from Hasina government in Bangladesh than many of the chief ministers within India? That's a devastating statement.
I'm afraid so. I'm afraid so. I am sorry. That is indeed the case. I should have been more careful. But you see, our thing is from the frying pan into the fire. If the BNP takes power, that is a reversal of 1971. That is all we are trying to avoid. And thankfully, Hasina has governed quite well. The economy is very buoyant. But it's a very, very little bit that we have. Because, this is all dependent on Hasina. Once she goes, there is zero guarantee that the situation will endure and the things will be worse for Hindus. It'll be worse.
Are you saying that there is, like in India, you have a very large community of left oriented secularists who will stand up and justify even the most bizarre things in favor of the Muslim community or Christians? Are there no such organized groups in Bangladesh?
In my view, from all the leftists, and I knew a lot of leftists in Bangladesh, Bangladeshi leftists in London, 70s, 80s, friends of mine, their hostility towards Hindus were all hard left. They may be left, but they also hate Hindus.
They hate Hindus.
And they hate
Well,
Hindus.
our Indian left hate Hindus. Why would the Bangladeshi left not hate Hindus?
No, but from
Okay,
an
I
Islamic
get it.
perspective, there is a deep-rooted animosity from an Islamic perspective in Bangladesh against Hindus. You see, at one time, Hindus owned between 2/3 to 70% of urban property in Dhaka, Chittagong. 2/3 to 70% of all property was owned by Hindus. Professional life was almost 95% dominated by. So their ejection was a foregone conclusion. There was greed fueled by all the rubbish scholarship about landlord oppression, all the rubbish.
Now let's come to Sreeman Mazumder. आपको क्या लगता है कि बांग्लादेश छोड़ के ही जाना पड़ेगा आप जैसों को, सिर्फ आप जैसों को नहीं? सुना है रोज सैकड़ों बांग्लादेशी बांग्लादेश छोड़ के किसी और देश में चले जा रहे हैं, रोज हो रहा है ये. तो क्या यही फ्यूचर रहेगा कि या कन्वर्ट हो जाओ या देश छोड़ दो?
I can tell you what very little effort was made by us here in 2018. Very little effort, with the help of my Bangladeshi Hindu lawyer colleague Samir Das, who is really the best informed in Europe on all affairs. He and I did something. I wrote a petition for my local MP Bob Blackman, which he read out in Parliament, and we made some very modest demands. One was that British aid, I think, was £500 million a year, that a very small amount be devoted to the training of the police on these issues. Lobby for the Vested Property Act being abolished, high hopes. And thirdly, devote a tiny proportion designated for the minority community for their welfare, legal help, very important. As you know in Delhi yourself, in all situations, a modicum of legal help is very useful. This is all we asked for. None of this was accepted by the UK government to be put forward to Bangladesh because Bangladeshis are very powerful in London. They won't put up with this. They are very politically active, like all Muslims, whereas Hindus here, 22% of Hindus vote. So they are irrelevant. Whereas Muslims will organize, they will demonstrate, they will storm the Indian High Commission. So politicians will listen to them, and that is why no representation was made.
ओह ग्रिम। मजुमदार जी आप बताइए, तो क्या यही होगा जो आप कर रहे हैं, सभी लोग छोड़ते जाएं बांग्लादेश?
Is that to Ravindra Babu?
Yes.
Majumdar, I'm asking Sreeman Majumdar. आप सुन रहे हैं श्रीमान मजुमदार जी? श्रीमान मजुमदार आप सुन रहे हैं? कैन यू हियर मी? मजुमदार जी, मजुमदार जी आपको सुन रहा है?
हेलो,
हाँ, आपको सुन रहा है मेरा सवाल? आपको मेरा सवाल सुना? Ashish, can you handle this, please? Ashish, please fix this.
मैम उनकी तरफ से प्रॉब्लम है,
तो आप उन्हें मैसेज भेज दीजिए और तब तक हम आगे बात बढ़ाते हैं।
ओके।
हाँ, कैन यू हियर मी श्रीमान? नो, your voice not coming. Let's forget it. आशीष, उनको आप मैसेज भेज दो कि फिर कभी बात करेंगे उनसे। अभी इन दोनों से। Mr. Ghosh, I come back
Yes.
to you. I come back to you. So, given that Sheikh Hasina, despite her intentions, is not really powerful enough to provide protection or reorient the policing, the administration to help Bangladeshi Hindus survive with dignity. So what do you think is the likely future? Just slowly leave the country for distant shores? Is that what you think is going to happen?
During our fact-finding, we observed, particularly Sheikh Hasina is secular. But whenever any problem relating to minority Hindus, whenever we approach her regarding their rights to live, right for education, right to property, then sometimes she neglects. This is the problem. So, is it possible on the part of Hindu community here in Bangladesh to stay? But she's listening and listening. She's secular, no doubt. But she's not in a position to give any redress to the community. We are going every time and asking for...
No, what is the solution? You've stated this. I know it, you know it. Now, what's the way out? Is the only way out to disperse globally? You know, the Jews at one time dispersed globally, but then they came and reclaimed their land. I don't... Do you think that's ever likely? That Bangladeshi Hindus disperse globally, become powerful and wealthy, and then reclaim their place? Or what's the way out? Or just forget about Bangladesh and move to whichever country?
Most of the Hindu minorities, they don't like to leave the country. It is their motherland. And they like to live here peacefully. They are the peaceful citizen of the country. We want Sheikh Hasina must do something for the welfare of the Hindu community and to stop atrocity against them. So every people throughout the world should come forward to protect them and organize in such a manner so that she is bound to do this for the sake of Hindu community in Bangladesh.
Okay.
It is my request to everybody.
You know, your request seems to me actually very effete. Pardon my saying so. Because at one level, you've been requesting for a long time. You participated, you led, actually, Hindus led the Bangladesh liberation struggle. Majority of those who were killed during the 1971 war were Hindu Bangladeshis. And thereafter, they revenged the Bangladeshi Muslims. Instead of rewarding Hindus, they actually started carrying out very systematic genocide of Hindus. So the problem really is one of Islam. And as Gautam Da was saying, Gautam Da, I think you said it boldly, as plainly as it needs to be said and understood. In no country of the world where Islam dominates can minorities survive, because their mazhab does not allow it. They are bound by their mazhabi mandate, which is to slaughter or convert all kafirs. Now, the fact is, when that's the ground reality, there are 2 points that puzzle me. Um Actually, not really, but I want to hear your response to it. In
You know,
India,
on a purely humanitarian level, I'm not taking into account the geopolitics and the interests of the Indian Union and the state. I would say, for an individual, the only solution in the end is what is happening, but perhaps in a more orderly way, they come to India. Because they are being forced out. Why are we pretending there is going to be something different in the future? The population has collapsed and it continues to collapse. But let's not forget what you and your colleagues have already highlighted. The scheduled caste people, the people who are at the bottom of the pile, were murdered by the CPM in Madishapi. These were people who came originally from Bangladesh. They were slaughtered by the Communist Party. So how did we treat them? In all these refugee camps, life is terrible, absolutely terrible. But then the refugee camps of Pandits in Delhi were also pretty terrible. So our state is also remiss in not doing enough, the minimum that is required for these unfortunate people. We don't seem to have any sense of solidarity on the basis of the fact that we have a common heritage and they have nowhere else to go. I would say in the end, it is good for the health of Bengal if these people come here. It's good for the demography of West Bengal if they come. And a more orderly passage into Bengal is the way we should proceed, even though there is this political cost I mentioned earlier of interference. This is a price we need to be able to pay. But no government has been willing to take this step. I think all of them should come and change the demography of Bengal, which is being lost anyway, to Islam.
you know, last time I asked the panel that came some days ago. In 1947, Muslims were about 9% of Indian population after the partition. Today, they are double that number, and they have become murderously aggressive. As you know, wherever in India they have set up mini Pakistans, of which there are plenty, Hindus have to flee, even within India. Now, Hindus were 33% in 1971. No, in 1947. They reduced to 13% by the time it's 1971. And now maybe 7, 8, whatever percent. The point is that Hindus could well have as 13% organize themselves as a force in the way that Muslims organize themselves. What is it that prevents Hindus? Is it only the main difference being that they are armed, they don't hesitate inflicting violence, murder, which is supported by their mazhab, whereas Hindus don't have that murderous resolve against even those who are out to slaughter them. Is that the main difference?
You know, the degree of socialization, as I'm sure you know, of young Muslims from a very, very young age, from the age of 3 even, is total. It is brainwashing on a scale that is very, very hard to imitate. And, they have the venue of the mosque and the madrasa, which we do not. It's a collective experience. I was saying to my friend that a few days ago I had to invite a central heating engineer from Afghanistan, and in the cold, sitting outside the house, a young fellow, very civil, very competent, I suddenly heard him praying. He says his prayers in all circumstances. We can't compete with this. And I'm talking about a family near me, and I was in their house. The 2-year-old boy can hardly speak. The father is saying to him, repeat after me, alhamdulillah. Repeat after me, alhamdulillah. And the poor boy is struggling. This is a socialization that we do not have in our culture, and nor should we. I think in the end, we shouldn't have this brainwashing.
Let me try to get Sreeman Mazumder. It seems he's ready to say something. Sreeman, can you hear me? Sreeman, yeah, please. क्या कहेंगे आप बताइए.
मेरे कहने के तो बहुत सारे हैं. मेरे कहने का बहुत सारे है. तो आज एक दिन को मैं याद करती हूँ. आज से 5 साल पहले बांग्लादेश में नासिर नगर बोल के एक यानी इतिहास सृष्टि हुआ था. नासिर नगर आज 5 साल हो गए उसका. आज 5 साल हो गया. नासिर नगर में रोशराज का नाम पे फेसबुक इस्लाम का अनुभूति बोल के, या अनुभूति बोलता है क्या अनुभूति बोलता है, सारे सॉरी, लेकिन आज 5 साल हो गया. एक आदमी का नाम पे कोई चार्जशीट मिला ही नहीं. मामला हुआ, वहां का मामला का जो मेन कैरेक्टर है, दो को नॉमिनेशन दिया गया इलेक्शन पे. जो रोशराज का नाम पे फेसबुक अवमानना का नाम पर जो यार हटाया उसने, वो लोगों ने. अभी वो तो निर्दोष है, उसको लिखना पढ़ना कुछ भी नहीं आता है. फेसबुक भी बनाया वो जहांगीर का दुकान पे जाके, जो जहांगीर को अभी नॉमिनेशन दिया.
हमने जो सवाल पूछा उसका बताओ मुझे. आपका ये जो रेफरेंस के बिना, कॉन्टेक्स्ट के बिना जो कहानी बता रहे हो, ये किसी को समझ नहीं आएगी. मैंने सवाल पूछा था कि क्या निकलना पड़ेगा लोगों को, हिंदुओं को बांग्लादेश से, क्या सर्वाइवल वहां संभव है, कि सब आपकी तरह निकलते जाएंगे. ये सवाल का जवाब दीजिए.
नहीं, मैं तो नहीं निकला वहां से, बांग्लादेश से नहीं निकला, और कभी भी नहीं निकलेंगे वहां से, कभी भी नहीं. वो हमारा जन्मभूमि है, वो हमारा पिताओं का मिट्टी है. वहां हमको रहना है. हम कहाँ जाने के नहीं, कहाँ भी जाएंगे नहीं.
पर अभी तो ओमान में है ना आप? तो
नहीं, हम ओमान में है, लेकिन हमारा तो हाथ, मैं ओमान में है, लेकिन मेरा जो रिलेशन है, जो मेरा बिजनेस है, हर चीज तो हमारा उधर ही है, चिटोंग में है. और यहाँ का ये लोगों को छोड़ के मैं रिलेशन को छोड़ के कभी भी किधर भी जाने वाला नहीं है. इधर तो मेरा बिजनेस है बस.
तो आप जाते आते रहते हैं?
हम तो जाते हैं. हम साल में 2-1 बार आना, 2-3 बार आना जाना होता है. सबसे मिलता है और सबका यानी पूछता है क्या कैसे चल है, क्या है, सब एक यूनिटी करता है. सबसे मिल के जो करना है वो करता है हर वक्त. तो इसलिए बोल रहा था 5 साल हो गए अभी रोशराज का कोई भी सोल्यूशन नहीं हुआ, एक्सचेंज भी नहीं हुआ. और अभी जो कुमिल्ला का जो घटना हुआ, कुमिल्ला का जो हिंदू लोगों का मंदिर तोड़ा, हम लोग को जो प्रतिमा को तोड़ा, जो इस्कॉन मंदिर में नोआखाली चौमोनी में जो हमारा इस्कॉन भाई लोग को मारा गया. अभी तीन हॉस्पिटल पे रहे। तो वो लोगों को बड़ा सबसे बड़ा साजिश तो गवर्नमेंट का है। इधर गवर्नमेंट का डीजी आईजी मंदिर से निकलता है, उधर वो लोग आके मंदिर में हमला करता है, तोड़ फोड़ करता है, मारता है, प्रतिमा को अष्टमी में विसर्जन देता है, अष्टमी में विसर्जन देते मेरा माँ को। तो
अच्छा ये
सारे चीज हम क्यों
ये बताइए कितना कन्वर्जन भी हो रहा है जिसकी खबर नहीं आती। खबर आती है केवल जब मारे जाते हैं या हमला होता है, मंदिर टूटते हैं। मिस्टर घोष, what percentage of Hindus are slowly converting to Islam under pressure?
Yes. We have got several instances of such conversion, forceful conversion. There are 1,300 forceful conversion has been committed during this period, and we are documenting all these things. We are trying.
You mean in the recent period? In the recent period?
No. 2001 to recent.
I can't believe it. Only 1,300. That figure is too low for belief.
2011 to that's why maybe 9 years no result of any.
No. I have got some documents. Only for that reason I can show you.
Say that you got documents for 1,300 people, but it can't be that from 2001 to 2021 they only converted 1,300 persons. That can't be. In India they're doing it per day, many more. In India they're converting many more per day, and so you can't.
But I cannot assure you, because I have.
You don't have to assure me of anything, but don't give me this bogus figure, please, Mr. Ghosh. When you give me this figure, it's laughable.
9 years after no result of any murders of any demolition of mandir.
There are conversion, but there should be a forceful conversion. The magistrate or the judges tell that whether it is a forceful conversion or not. They said it is a forceful conversion. Because how it is converted to Islam within 15 years, 17 years, 10 years, 12 years old, how they can be converted to Islam? They cannot speak as per law. The minor cannot say whether she is Muslim or she is Hindu. So we are documenting all these things relating to this. The age of the girl should be less than 18 years. More than 18 years, there are many.
You're yourself giving such a big concession. You're saying after 18 you can convert us. I mean, why?
No.
There needs to be a ban on attempts to convert.
That is
Nobody
true.
in their right mind would convert to Islam, given how oppressive this whole ideology is.
The other lawyers say it is a humanity, it is a human rights. They can go whatever they like.
Let's not get into that very banal conversation and vocabulary of human rights. Please.
And the voluntary conversions everywhere, Pakistan included, is only of women and girls of childbearing age.
No, bochor dore কোনো জজমেন্ট তো হয় না হিন্দুদের মন্দির ভাঙা আর হিন্দুদের ঘর বাড়ি জ্বালানো পোড়ানো লুটপাট নিয়ে।
Before I take the questions, आप मजुमदार साहब आप जो कहना है कह दीजिए, फिर उसके बाद हम सवाल जवाब ले लेंगे, कमेंट्स लेंगे।
ठीक है, मैं एक जरूरी बात न्यूज़ पहुंचाना है आपका जरिया। हर दुनिया पे जैसे कहाँ भी मेरा हिंदू भाई लोग है, सबको मैं एक न्यूज़ पहुंचाना चाहती हूँ। तो यहाँ अभी आम लोगों का मंदिर तोड़ फोड़ हो गया, सब 10 साल का बच्चे को रेप किया, उसका सामने उसका माँ का सामने बच्ची को रेप किया, उसका दादी को रेप किया, 4 औरत का सामने एक बच्ची को रेप करते करते 10 साल का वहां उसको दूसरा दिन उसका डेड हो गया। अभी उसका बाद वो लेके और इस्कन मंदिर में हमला हुआ, कुमिल्ला में हुआ, रक्साई में हुआ, दिनाजपुर में हुआ, चिटांग में हुआ, चिटांग बसकाली में हुआ, हर जगह पे ऐसे हुआ। जब हम लोग हिंदुत्ववादी लोगों ने एक इकट्ठा होकर जब रोड पे आया, जब प्रतिवाद किया, जब प्रतिवाद कर रहा है, जो लिख रहा है और जो फेसबुक में कर रहा है, ऐसा जगह अभी मेरे को भी ब्लॉग में रखा है, मेरे को भी 1 महीने का ब्लॉग पे डाल दिया। सिर्फ मैं इतना ही बोला बस, ये जो हो रहा है नहीं होना चाहिए बोल के सर, तो मेरे को भी ब्लॉग पे डाल दिया। और ये लोग जो जिहादी लोग मेरा माँ बाप को लेके, मेरा प्रतिमा को लेके हर बात गाली देते रहते हैं, ये सब वायरल होते रहते हैं, ये सारे लोगों को ब्लॉक नहीं करते। जब हिंदू होता है, हिंदुत्ववादी कोई राइटर होता है, कोई लिखने वाला होता है, उसको ब्लॉक करता है, नहीं तो उसको अरेस्ट करता है। ये सारे अभी इतिहास हो गया अभी बांग्लादेश का। अभी देखिए रुमस नाम के करके एक अध्यापिका है, उसको क्या गलती था? सिर्फ उसने प्रतिवाद क्यों कर रहा था, ढाका 77 में क्यों आवाज उठाया, और उसको क्या किया, रात को जाके घर से उठा के ले लिया। अभी जेल में उसका छोटा छोटा 2 बच्चा, 2 दिन का रिमांड में भी दे दिया उसको। क्या गलती था उसका, क्या गलती किया था उसने? उसका साथ शुभम दास बोल के जशोर का, उसको भी ये सब सारे लड़के 25 ईयर्स का, रिमन शील बोल के चट्टग्राम चिटांग से, उसको भी अभी ऐसा कर 200-250 बच्चा लोग का अभी 3-4 दिन में जेल में डाला। ये लोग को गलती से इतना है, ये क्यों क्यों प्रतिवाद कर रहा था, क्यों जो साथ से उसको सामने ले रहा था? ये नहीं लेना चाहिए था, चुप बैठना
देखिए,
चाहिए था। जब हो रहा था वो नहीं लेना चाहिए।
अगर इतने साल में भी एक मिलिटेंट रिस्पांस नहीं आती बांग्लादेश से, मेरा तो ये मानना है कि जब तक आप हाथ जोड़ के मिन्नतें करते रहेंगे, क्यों किया, कैसे किया, कैसे नहीं होना चाहिए, प्लीज हमारी सुनो, जो आपके सामने खड़े हैं, जो आपको कत्ल करने के लिए या धर्मांतरण करने के लिए बहुत कमिटेड हैं, वो ये भाषा समझते नहीं, ना इस भाषा का उनको कोई सम्मान है। अभी मैं एक कुछ कमेंट ले लेती हूँ। आशुतोष जायसवाल कह रहे हैं, आशुतोष का कमेंट लाइए। Instead of working for de-Islamization of Indian subcontinent, all political party system is working for Islamization of India. जब तक भारत को पाकिस्तान बांग्लादेश न बना ले, चैन नहीं लेंगे। Gautam da, do you think that's true? That actually our parties are working for Islamizing India, whatever little is left of India?
Well, what happens in India, I think in general, is the dominance of electoral calculation, and therefore everybody adopts the path of least resistance, the outcome of which is Islamization. It may not be a conscious policy, but I'll give you one dramatic piece of statistic I discovered during the campaign for the West Bengal election, that in the childbearing age group of 10 to 24, Muslims outnumber Hindus by a factor of 10. So you can imagine, we already know who's going to be born in the next generation and a half and what will be the composition of the electorate. You see, in that Bengal election, only 10.9% of Hindus voted for TMC, 10.9%, though it was 20% of those who cast their votes. So 10.9% of registered voters. So if you have 32%, you need a very small minority of Hindus to vote for you to have a huge majority, which she has. Now, very soon, that will be unnecessary. And you see, so far they followed the strategy which the leadership gave to Shahabuddin. You remember Shahabuddin, who wanted to form an Islamic party. And his Muslim leadership told him, no, we must get Hindus to front these parties. But that in West Bengal will be unnecessary very shortly. And already West Bengal, the Bengal of my culture and my generation, is finished. What has happened in Bangladesh by the 50s and 60s, the educated middle class fled, has happened in West Bengal because, for example, over 70% of IT specialists in Bangalore are Bengalis. The Bhadralok, the generation of Ravindra Tagore, Vivekananda, that has gone. Satyajit Ray, that is already gone. Bengal is no longer the Bengal that we say had that greatness. It is finished. So that is really Bangladesh early stage in West Bengal.
Can you say that Bangladesh, West Bengal today is a land of lumpenized youth? And
Yes,
because they are deracinated, lumpenized, they're very easy for conversion targeting.
but the people who have resisted, particularly and who have been beaten up after the election, were mainly people from the most disadvantaged communities, scheduled caste. They were the ones who fought back. So, I think it is the Bhadralok who are most remiss. Whereas I will not say that about the ordinary people,
No,
but they have.
lumpenization of Bhadralok.
Oh,
See, when
absolutely.
you
Goes back to the 60s, not recent. This is
with
1950s
the
phenomenon. Yes,
Naxal
absolutely.
movement,
Yes.
what we witnessed in Bengal is the lumpenization of Bhadralok, and then communism, in any case, makes you into a menace, into a social political menace, and so you don't have any intellectual life left there. You don't have
But
much of.
but Madhu, this is a discussion we did not manage to have because of my illness. From 1921, when the Communist Party was founded, it pretty much adopted in Bengal the manifesto of the Prajashakti Muslim Peasant Party. They pretty much, communists from the very beginning, were totally assimilated to Islam from the very beginning because of the composition of the population. From the word go, many of the communist leaders, in order to campaign in the countryside, adopted Muslim names. Many
Yeah.
Bengali communists went to Punjab in Western India to campaign for partition. The Communist Party actually is not a communist party. Even Rajani
I'm
found
going to
that.
have a special. I'm going to have a special dedicated talk by you on this issue very soon.
Even
You
Rajani
can't.
found that.
You,
Rajani found
huh?
that of the Communist Party of Great Britain was astonished by Indian communists. He couldn't understand their association with Islam. Even he
So
was astonished.
we should have this as a standalone thing very soon, Gautam Da. Bharat Kumar says Hindus can also block roads and protest, but rich Hindus have to take responsibility of those Hindu families. Irony is that rich Hindus were just busy with fake charity business. Well, I agree with you, Bharat Kumar, and I'm sure everybody does. Lord Dujjal, मुस्लिम पहले नॉन मुस्लिम्स को मारेंगे, बाद में अपने लोगों को मारेंगे, और मार खाया हुआ लोग किसी सेक्युलर कंट्री में असाइलम लेने के बाद खुद ही को विक्टिम बता के उधर के नॉन मुस्लिम्स का हत्या शुरू कर देंगे. I think this is describing it very aptly, Gautam Da. You're in London, you're seeing this happen, right? Say when the Afghans are escaping Afghanistan Taliban and they come to Europe for asylum, they're going to create similar ghettos of Islam, and it's going to be the same story all over again, right?
But here it's already a country which has adopted in many ways a quasi-Islamic culture already. The UK, and I have written an article last week for the first post on this, is quasi-Islamic culture. For example, in the area where I live, the local government has passed a resolution which is similar to ones in many parts of the country, that you are not allowed to say that minorities are persecuted in Muslim majority countries. You are not permitted to say that. You will lose money from grants. You will be rusticated. You will be sacked from a teaching post. This is Harrow Council, but similar resolutions have been passed across the country, including Oxford. It is quasi-Islamic already, and this fact of non-reporting of what happened in Dhaka and elsewhere in the last 15 days is a symptom. They have totally ignored it.
In how many years will the flag of Taliban or ISIS be flying over the Buckingham Palace or the British Parliament? How many years will
It's a
it
very
take?
subtle process where they have bent this society to their will, very subtly. And it works wonderfully. It is a threat of violence.
Yeah, but they're not going to remain subtle forever. Once they are
Madhuji, it
30%.
is now beginning to rain. I may have to leave you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
hope this just drops of rain have started falling next to the Thames River where I'm sitting. But Ravindra Babu, Sreeman, Mr. Mazumder, Namaskar, and to the audience, thank you for putting up with me. Namaskar.
Thank you, Gautam da.
Jai Shri Ram.
We'll have you back
Jai
again
Shri Ram.
soon.
Jai.
Jai Shri Ram.
Thank you.
सौरभ सिंह, इस्लाम इज टोटलिटेरियन। सौरभ सिंह क्या कह रहे हैं? इस्लाम इज तो कहाँ गए सौरभ सिंह? कहाँ? अरे दिखाओ ना। मधु जी, हर हर महादेव। इंडिया नीड्स लीडर लाइक छत्रपति शिवाजी महाराज और गुरु गोविंद सिंह जी, नॉट गांधीवादी। वो हम सब समझते हैं हर हर महादेव जी। आप बनिए ना, आप बनिए, हम में से कोई तो बने। गुरु गोविंद सिंह, छत्रपति महाराज, बिल्कुल सही कह रहे हो। आशुतोष जायसवाल, Modi government and Hindus are waiting for the West to rescue them instead of taking action unless India don't take actions aggressively like Israel. आप बिल्कुल सही कह रहे हो आशुतोष कि हमारे सपोर्ट में कौन आएगा जब हमारी सरकार हमारे खिलाफ है। समझ नहीं आता ये क्यों नहीं बांग्लादेश के हिंदुओं के मदद में जाते, अपने देश में भी हिंदुओं की मदद नहीं कर रहे। वेस्ट बंगाल में बीजेपी के केडर का, पार्टी के कार्यकर्ता का जो बदहाली हुई है, जिस तरह उन्हें चुन चुन के मारा है, और भाजपा के नेता चुप, कंडेम भी नहीं कर पाए। मोदी जी भी आज तक मुंह में दही जमा के बैठे रहे। शुभम जोशी, आई एम सीइंग मेनी दलित एक्टिविस्ट्स आर हेल बेंट अगेंस्ट बीजेपी एंड हिंदूज एंड ग्रेजुअली दे आर गोइंग अराउंड गेनिंग ग्राउंड सपोर्ट। What would be the future of this development? देखिए, इनको दलित एक्टिविस्ट कहना फजूल है। वो क्रिश्चियन बनते हैं या मुसलमान बनते हैं, तब ये आइडेंटिटी बनती है। और दुख की बात यह है कि हमने कन्वर्जन्स के लिए इनको खुला छोड़ दिया है। तो ये दलित आइडेंटिटी तो क्रिश्चियंस की ही थोपी हुई आइडेंटिटी है। ये ना हमारे भारतीय सभ्यता का शब्द है, और ना इस्लाम के आने से पहले कोई दलित या अछूत ये शब्द भी हमारी वोकैबुलरी के नहीं थे। लेट्स बी वेरी क्लियर। आप पढ़ लीजिए रामायण, आप पढ़ लीजिए महाभारत, कोई अछूत, कोई व्यक्ति इस तरह का हो जिसके साथ अलग किया जाए, उसको दबा के रखा जाए, नथिंग लाइक दैट। तो हमें न पढ़ने देने की भी they've kept us uneducated, they've not allowed us to be rooted in our own culture, ताकि हमारे समाज के बारे में, हिंदू धर्म के बारे में, सनातन धर्म के बारे में जितने झूठ थोपे जा सकते हैं थोप दिए जाएं। The silent bong says unemployment is the main reason of lumpenization. If young guys don't have anything to do, they will obviously go to clubs and hence become TMC henchmen and earn money through temporary jobs, syndicate cartels, etc. Very correct, the silent bong. You're right, but देखिए कौन कैसे जॉब इन्वेस्टमेंट कौन करने जाएगा बंगाल में जहाँ इतनी हिंसा हो रही हो? How can you have investments? So those who wish to earn an honest living are leaving Bengal. Pavandev, according to you, till when UK will fall in the hand of Muslim completely because of London is already Londonistan? मुझे लगता है 30-40 साल और की बात है, और बकिंगम पैलेस पे जरूर तालिबान का झंडा होगा, आईसिस का भी हो सकता है, और कोई बड़ी बात नहीं कि 50 साल में ऑक्सफोर्ड यूनिवर्सिटी, कैम्ब्रिज यूनिवर्सिटी का वही हाल हो जो हमारी नालंदा यूनिवर्सिटी और अन्य कई यूनिवर्सिटीज का मुसलमानों ने किया, हमलावरों ने किया, या यहाँ के राजाओं ने भी, यो मुगल फुगल जो आए। 5 to 8. Yes, Mazumder, you want to say something? Concluding comments?
बस वही अभी कमेंट में अभी वही बोलना चाहती हूँ, जैसे हम लोग के हिंदू लोगों का कोई बचाव हो, कोई सेफ हो, कोई कानूनी 2 रुपए कुछ मिले, बस वही गवर्नमेंट से और आप लोगों से सर यही गुजारिश है, और क्या
ये
कुछ भी नहीं।
गुजारिश वाली भाषा छोड़ दो, कोई मदद नहीं करने
हम लोग
आएगा
फ्री थे।
अगर आप ऐसे हाथ जोड़ते रहेंगे।
हाँ, कोई
हाथ
मदद करने
जोड़ने
आएगा नहीं। तो लास्ट अभी सब भाई लोगों को
ऐसे
ही
नहीं
बोलते हूँ,
मिलती है।
आओ मैदान पे आओ, जंग जो भी है आगे बस चलेगा, चलते रहेगा, ऐसे ही चलेगा। आओ भाई लोग, बहन लोग, माँ लोग, सब आओ, अभी सब तो आगे आप लोग, और भी जो बाकी है घर में बैठा है हर लोग आओ, हम लोग के साथ मिलो। जय श्री राम। और सब कुछ रहना, अच्छे रहना, बस वही।
जय जय श्री राम। हर हर महादेव का लास्ट कमेंट मैं पढ़ रही हूँ। 5 to 8% population is in Bangladesh. I believe jihadi wants Afghanistan model for Hindus, mean genocide of Hindus. No one stopped in Afghanistan to stop this. I believe it's coming in Bangladesh. बांग्लादेश में तो आ चुका है कब से, कंसिस्टेंटली जेनोसाइड चलती रही है, एथनिक क्लेंजिंग, जेनोसाइड एथनिक क्लेंजिंग के माध्यम से। अब आप जो बचा खुचा हिंदुस्तान है ना, उसकी हम चिंता करें, वहां पे भी यही चल रहा है। एंड फ्रेंड्स, वी बेटर अंडरस्टैंड दैट
ये हुआ है अभी।
अनलेस हमारा समाज नहीं अपनी सुरक्षा के इंतजाम करना शुरू करता, अगर हम हाथ जोड़ के केवल सरकार के आगे मिन्नतें करते रहेंगे, तो भारत सरकार भी हमारे को ना बचाने की क्षमता रखती है और ना उसकी नियत भी लगती है। तो इसलिए इस वक्त समाज को अपनी कैसे सुरक्षा करनी है, इसकी चर्चा हर शहर, हर मोहल्ले, हर कम्युनिटी, हर जाति, हर बिरादरी में होनी चाहिए कि हम वी शुडंट बी रेडी फॉर येट अनदर स्लॉटर। कुमार अभिषेक कह रहे हैं, माय प्राइमरी स्कूल टीचर वाज Vyamkesh Chandra Roy. He was a Christian. Her mother's name was Dorothy Mary Roy. So be careful before talking to a Bengali, Malayali, Telugu और तमिल गाय। ये क्या मतलब हुआ, हमें समझ नहीं आया। चलिए, इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ मैं आप सबसे अनुरोध करती हूँ, टेक दिस मैसेज within your own community, within your own peer group, और तैयार हो जाइए अपनी सुरक्षा के लिए। मैं नहीं कह रही हूँ जंग के लिए, पर जंग वो कर रहे हैं। There's already an undeclared war going on against Hindus within India, and it's up to us to decide whether we want to be prepared at least for self-defense. अपनी सर्वाइवल की लड़ाई के लिए क्या हम तैयार हैं और उसके लिए क्या साधन जुटा सकते हैं। इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ आपसे आज्ञा लेती हूँ। नमस्कार, जय हिंद, कल फिर मिलेंगे।